And here we go. It is May 19th, 2020, and this is the MMA Movement live chat. I'm your host, Robert Palin, and if you don't know who I am, that means you haven't subscribed to the channel yet. And if you don't know who this is, Sean Taylor, that also means you haven't subscribed, so go do it. This show and this chat kind of is what it says on the tin. We want to take your questions, and if the show is good, if the show is bad, it's pretty much on you. It's not on us. Like, it's just, we're at the mercy of the questions.
We take no responsibility for any poor content.
Exactly. We're avatars in this whole thing. So send us your questions and we want to talk about all the questions that you have. But we also have some things we want to talk about as well. And there was a card on the weekend, Sean. So let's jump straight into it. I'm not going to ask how you are because peel behind the curtain. We were talking a minute ago. I know how you are. You're grand.
Yeah.
So there was a card on last weekend. It featured Alistair Overeem getting a big win over Walt Harris in a kind of a bittersweet performance, or I guess result, for a lot of MMA fans, and of course Walt Harris himself. So I'm going to throw this to you first, Sean. What was your thoughts on the card as a whole, and also Alistair Overeem's performance in the main event?
I thought it was a really good card. I didn't watch it. I watched the prelims on the night, and then I watched the main card the next morning. But yeah, I thought it was a really fun card. I think I said to you earlier last week that it looked quite a fun card, and it turned out that way. There was some cracking fights on it. It was really hard to choose the fight of the night and the performances of the night.
Yeah.
So yeah, some brilliant fights on it. Some surprise, some poor scorecards, some surprise results and stuff. But yeah, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed. To be fair, sorry, I've really enjoyed just the 3 cards in the last 8 days. I thought they've been phenomenal.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm actually surprised that I wasn't burnt out on watching all these fights. And I am and I'm not, because we've been kind of lacking and we've been kind of looking for fights for the last 2 months or something. So in that sense I'm not, but at the same time, like, these cards have 11 to 12 fights on them. And
I think they've all really delivered.
They've all really delivered. So I'm actually surprised at that. But in terms of Alistair Overeem, man, like Lexi Olenek, but probably at even a higher level, or definitely at a higher level, he just keeps coming back and showing that he's still there. And I've seen some kind of post-fight analysis on this and post-fight analysis on Overeem, and I've heard people say, man, you can't really count him out as a title challenger. And like, the more I look at it, I'm like, Jesus, you really can't. Like, I don't think he's going to win the title. But when you look at the guys like Overeem, or not Overeem, we're talking about Overeem. Look at the guys like Stipe, getting later into his career. Daniel Cormier has 1 fight left. And then guys like Francis, who obviously beat him, but then Rosenstruck, that's like the top. So like, it just takes one good night at heavyweight for you to get there. So if he gets a title fight or even a number 1 contender shot, we're probably not that far away from seeing Alistair Overeem again in a title fight. That's crazy.
Especially a guy like Alistair Overeem. I think we've said this before. Alistair Overeem specifically is never more than 2 wins away from a title shot. Really. Yeah, I thought he looked phenomenal. And like, he dropped Stipe as well. They played that clip as well a couple of times on the broadcast, didn't they?
Yeah.
Dropped Stipe as well before. I thought he looked really good. He's so diverse as well, just in how he changes things up throughout his career and stuff. And what they put the thing up on the broadcast, or maybe it was Twitter afterwards. He's only the 2nd fighter ever after Olenek to win a fight in 4 different decades.
Yeah.
The 90s, the 90s, the 10s, and this decade now.
Yeah, so I have that post.
Phenomenal longevity, as much as Anton in a career as volatile as heavyweight MMA.
Yeah, and plus moving up from light heavyweight and like not really having that heavyweight frame, and then not necessarily having that heavyweight chin. And then, like, if you look at the shots he was taking from Walt Harris, there were some big shots. There were some really big shots.
I mean, that fight could have been stopped.
It could have been stopped, easily.
It was Big Dan was on the ref, wasn't he?
Big Dan.
Yeah, he done well to let it go.
Yeah, he did. So yeah, very good performance. Unfortunate for Walt Harris. Like 13-8 now. Of course, he had that tragedy with his late daughter now, and it's sad to see. And I think even Overeem, after the fight, you could see him, he put his arm around Walt Harris. You could see that maybe he was feeling it as well. But it'd be hard to see him come back and contend for a title. But like, he still has a lot of skills, and offensively, he's still very, very good. Like, as we said, that fight could have been stopped earlier on. So we'll see what goes on with him.
What age is Walt Harris? Sorry,
he's old. Like, he's not super old, but I think he's like 36 or something like that.
Okay.
36. Bang on. Unbelievable stuff. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Walt Harris, but good performance by Alistair Overeem. Very impressed. We'll get into some questions now as well, but I want to just talk about some of the dodgy decisions on the card, because I think there were a few. Most of them I think were close. I don't think any of them were like pure robberies, but I want to get your take, Sean.
The issue is some of the scorecards. So like,
yes,
I can see Tom Brune Jones in the chat there, and he tagged us in a really interesting Reddit article
Explain it to me.
But the issue was that some of the cards were 30-27 to either fighter. Like, how can you have that? I mean, we can all, like, I haven't watched any of the fights from the last 3 cards and sort of sat down and ostensibly tried to score them. But like, sometimes you watch a fight and you're like, okay, like, I can see that one being 29-28 either way.
Yeah.
But you don't see, I don't see how you could score a fight, how you can have 2 people watch a fight and score 30-27 to 2 different people.
I know, it's
That's
mad.
pretty silly.
Yeah, like, it takes a really, like, unbelievably close fight for that to happen. And I don't think any of these were that close. I think they were, like, as you said, rounds could have been going to other guys, like one round here, one round there. But let's jump straight into it. You had Claudia Gadelha and Angela Hill. I personally scored that one to Angela Hill. How did you score that one?
Probably Angela.
Yeah, but you had.
Can I just say as well?
Disclaimer.
Can I just say as well? I had a very lucky bet at the weekend. So I had Alistair Overeem, Dan Ige, Claudia Gadelha, and Sam Yudong.
That is
the bet.
Dodgy as fuck.
Yeah.
Were you chatting with them? Were you chatting with them before the fight? Because this seems like a fix. You shouldn't reveal that live on air.
I've been on the wrong end of enough bad decisions in my time that I'm going to take this one and not feel too bad about it. But yeah, I probably scored that one too. The only one that I was okay with was probably the Dan Ige one. I was okay with that one.
Yeah,
it was a close fight, and I could have seen it going to Barboza, but I probably did score that one. I think the Dan Ige.
Yeah.
The Claudia one, I scored to Angela. I thought she'd done enough, especially in the last round.
Me too. Open Ice hits with Scotty 2 Hockey said the Hill decision was awful. As we said, I think awful is a strong word. Poor. I would say poor.
Yeah, I think the frustrating bit is that, look, it's been kind of consistent now across these 3 cards in Florida that the judging hasn't been great.
Yeah.
I think that's the issue again.
Yeah.
Again, like we say this all the time, that the lack of accountability for these judges. I mean, these judges will get assigned cards again.
Yeah, exactly. But the weird thing is like, it's not like these are Floridian judges. They're brought in by the commission.
Floridian.
I think is that a phrase? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, is that? I'm looking at the chat and asking it like it's a fucking anima object. Yeah, they're bringing in judges and referees. Of course, you saw the referees there that have worked shows in other states, so it's not really that. But I do agree with the accountability thing. And we do have questions in the community tab that we asked, and we're gonna go in and we're gonna talk about them ones and answer them ones as well. But keep asking questions in the chat.
I want to make the video point again about that article Tom Bloom Jones tagged us in. It was really interesting. I'll get you to post it actually on the Facebook page after.
I will.
Is essentially this judge, Dave Torelli. He was on the card at the weekend, and he's given a few bizarre scorecards that have meant fights have been split decisions. So essentially, where there's a theme in the article. So essentially, where a fight has been close, say 29-28. You know the way sometimes in a close fight you'll have 29-28 either side. And one judge will give it to one of the fighters 30-27. Yeah, I mean, we see that.
Yeah.
He goes 30-27 the total opposite way. So like, Dave Torelli was in attendance and scored Till v Gastelum. He scored a 30-27 to Gastelum, while half of the media had a 30-27 Till and the other half 29-28.
So he went completely opposite.
Yeah, he had a 30-27 Gastelum. What was another one? He had Ricky Simone and Ray Bogg. He had that one. So most of the media had a 29-28 Ricky Simon. Some had a 30-27 for Ricky, and then he had a 30-27 Ray Bogg. I'll give you another one. He had Jean Vellante at UFC 220 against Francimar Barroso. So most of the media had a 30-27 Vellante. Some had a 29-28, and then he had it. What do you think he had it? He had a 29-28 Barroso.
So what are we talking about here? So do we think this is a bit of match fixing, Sean?
I don't know. The article just asked the question: is it corruption or is it incompetence, or does it even matter?
Yeah, definitely matters.
Tom actually had a theory. He said it to me on Twitter. I don't know if you read the thread yet. He reckons that it could be something to do with gambling, because I actually happened to say just about the bet I had, and he reckons it could be something to do with potentially, prop bets on split decisions and stuff like that coming in last minute. I don't know. It's worth mentioning, I think. Yeah,
that would not surprise me at all. The other decisions on the card, and then we'll kind of get into some of the questions. There's probably some regarding that as well. The Dan Ige one, Edson Barboza, close. I didn't
I was
disagree
okay
with
with
too
that
much. Yeah, I mean, I scored at Edson probably, but I was fine with it. What do you think of Edson at 145? I thought he looked unhealthy. He looked looked huge, but like his face
Yeah,
looked very skeletal
yeah. He. Do you know what he said? He walked in at to the ring, or to the
in
cage.
the cage.
He
What?
said he walked into the cage at 170.
Holy fuck!
I don't necessarily believe that. I think when you're listening to fighters talk about weights and what they're weighing and what they walked in at, you have to give or take a few pounds here or there,
Yeah,
because they never tell the truth, about what they weigh or how much they're walking around at.
yeah,
So, but if he walked in remotely anywhere near that, that's huge.
yeah. That is absolutely enormous. The other one was Song Yadong, and I'm a huge fan of Song Yadong. Love you, boy, Yadong. Marlon Vera won that fight. Hands
Yeah, I
down.
thought Vera won that one. I thought it was lucky on that one as well.
Yeah, very, very lucky. Uriah Faber should have took that fight, although he probably
Yeah,
that he weighed in at what 155 or something
150,
like that.
153 and a half, I think.
Yeah,
What did you make of Uriah? Actually, we didn't really get to talk about this.
it's just random, wasn't it?
I think it was a bit of a stunt. I don't
PR
think he ever
stunt.
really. Yeah, I don't think he
Yeah,
had any intention of fighting.
was it not that Song was having some kind of visa issues and
Yeah,
it was unclear whether he could fight? Was that what it
yeah,
was? Yeah,
yeah. Do you think he would have fought? Like,
maybe. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think so.
Bit of cash. I don't know. Maybe.
I'm not saying he doesn't want to fight, but like, why would he? Like a bag of cash. Like, what's a bag of cash to?
I thought you were gonna say a bag of cans.
I wish.
What's a bag of cans to Uriah Faber?
Like, how much cash did they have to offer you to take a fight with like no specific training camp
Mm,
on 24 hours notice? I don't know. I'm
don't
not
know.
buying it. I think he knew he probably wasn't going to have to fight and that it was a nice bit of PR.
Probably.
But
Probably.
yeah,
To
it
be
was
fair.
cool all the same. I mean, who Marvin Vittori weighed in as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Too bad for
I
Marvin
feel bad.
Vittori, man.
Yeah, that guy was yeah, didn't like that. But let's jump into some questions here. Here's a comment. Salvastola said he's gonna watch this or he's gonna listen to this while taking a shower. If you think about looking at my
Nice to know.
junk, then you are more than a little suspect, Sean. Close your eyes. Tom Broom Jones said, Sal, make sure you wash thoroughly. Hygiene is important, and that is true. Watched Contagion very recently. And of course, we're going through this whole coronavirus thing. And every time when I was watching Contagion, every time they touched something, I was like, fucking idiots. Stop touching things. You're spreading the virus. Open Ice hits with Scotty 2. Hockey said, Ream wants a rematch with Rosenstruck. I think he KOs Rosenstruck in a rematch. Potentially,
I'm cool
like,
with that.
yeah, that was, from what I remember, it was going, like, he was going to win that fight until the very end, right? And then
Yeah, that was a
Rosenstruck
close
wanted a big
fight. I mean, he stayed out of Rosenstruck's way up until, I mean,
Yeah.
Rosenstruck absolutely molested his lip.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it, Sean.
Yeah.
Molested his lip. Kind of off topic, and we'll get back to the card and stuff. We'll kind of jump around, but whatever users want to talk about in the chat, let us know. Jon Jones says he wants a 220-pound catchweight at heavyweight before jumping in. Who makes sense at that weight for him? I don't see many top heavyweights going that. Maybe Olenek, assuming no Ngannou fight. Well, I don't think Ngannou's making that. So, do you not like that?
A 220-pound catchweight. Fuck off and fight him at heavyweight. Do you know what that is? That's the exact same as Canelo putting a rehydration clause in his opponent's contracts. That's exactly what that is.
Yeah.
Every big fella Canelo fights. I mean, he had it with Kovalev.
Floyd Mayweather behavior. That's what that is.
Yeah, there's a rehydration clause that they can only weigh a certain amount the day after the fight, so they can't pump on the pounds after they weigh in.
Like California rules.
Yeah, that stinks. Like, fuck that.
So Sean is disagreeing with the question completely. I disagree.
No, he said that John.
I know.
He said that
John wants it. Yeah. I'm only joking.
I'm not answering that question though because it's bullshit.
I'll answer it though at heavyweight though. Who would you put him against at heavyweight if it's not going to be Ngannou? I think it should be Ngannou because I think at this point there's no point in Jon Jones staying at light heavyweight. Like, I mean, one of the contenders just got killed off with well, that's probably a bad turn of phrase because he got absolutely killed in there. But you know what I mean? He got beat in Anthony Smith. It's not a laughing matter, but that's what happened. And then like the Reyes fight, I want to see it, but like for Jon Jones, really at this point in his career, heavyweight is the way to go. So if you can't do Ngannou, should be Ngannou. Who would you go with? Jon Jones versus X.
I don't know. DC.
Yeah, I love it. I don't think it's gonna happen either, but yeah,
that's not gonna happen either. I mean, ask me to be realistic here.
Yeah. There's a nice turn, right? So DC, although it's fucking over Ngannou, but DC says that he doesn't want to fight for an interim belt and he wants to fight the real champion in Stipe. But
that's fair enough.
Would he take an interim title against Jon Jones, a heavyweight.
I think he probably would, but I've also heard DC say before that if he fought John again, he'd want it to be at light heavyweight, just because that's where he's taking the losses to him, and the competitor in him wants to beat him there. But yeah, I think look, you can tempt DC into anything. I think at heavyweight now at the minute with the likes of Jones and Ngannou or Stipe and just some cash.
Is it contentious? Is it controversial to say that I think everybody outside of like the top three, Jon Jones absolutely murders a heavyweight? Or do you think that's...
Say that again. John murders everyone outside the top three.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the top three: Francis, DC, and
Stipe.
Yeah. I mean, Overeem would be an interesting one, but I think
I think Jones murders them all. I do.
Yeah.
Like I just think he's too good. Skill.
Yeah.
Too
I don't
skillful.
see who gives him problems outside that top three, like major problems.
Yeah.
Even Francis, like, I mean, Francis just has that equalizer again. I mean, John is technically far too good for and superior for Ngannou, but it's just if Ngannou lands, what happens?
Exactly. That's like what every Ngannou fight.
Yeah,
it's insane. Back to the live chat. I'm gonna find a question here. Tom Broom Jones, Overeem might be the GOAT UFC heavyweight to never win gold. That is a great show, and you're probably right.
They actually did say on the broadcast, though, on one of the little things they had in the corner, those little pop-up tweets, actually, could we just say as well, they were fucking annoying on the broadcast.
Yeah, I know.
And they're so distracting. But they said that Overeem was a former UFC heavyweight champion, so they got that wrong.
Did they?
Yeah. Phil Campbell actually had a picture of it on his Facebook as well.
Who said that?
No, no one said it. It was on one of the little tail of the tape things they had in the corner of the screen.
Oh, the heavyweight belt just kind of flew around to loads of different contenders. Like nobody can really defend it. But
best of luck doing your go or your list of champions with the heavyweight division.
I know, man. I know.
You'd probably forget some of them.
Yeah, no, I think I have them down. That's actually funny enough. Tom Broom Jones, Rob Lad, when's the tier ranking coming? Your blue balling us over here. It's coming soon. It's just it's been very busy. Over in the Palin household, but it will come very soon. And I just need to watch a few more fights. I forget a few fights at lightweight. That's the only division I'm lacking on. So I need to watch a few of the old fights at lightweight, and then we're gonna do it. I'm not gonna say when though, because last time I said when, I said it's gotta be this week, and it wasn't.
They'll have the tape. Thought Claudio won the fight. Close fight. I couldn't disagree really. Personally, scored it to Angela Hill, but yeah.
That's because you had a bet on it, Sean.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with it. But Tom reckons I'm subsidising my living off MMA betting in quarantine. I wish Dominic Cruz cost me a few pennies.
Yeah.
I went in on him, so not quite.
Have you ever seen Uncut Gems? That's basically Sean's life, essentially.
No, not no. That movie's horrible. I hate that movie.
And he also said that Floridian is indeed the right term. Thank you.
That's a really fun word, Floridian.
Isn't it? It sounds a bit like fluoride, though. Like, I don't know. But anyway.
Tale of the Tape actually said something we have seen happen before. I've seen it happen in boxing. I'm pretty sure it's happening in MMA. It honestly wouldn't surprise me if some of these judges get the fighters' names mixed up when scoring fights. That has happened before. I've seen that happen in boxing. Yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me. Sean, you're a bit of a newer fan, so I'm not sure if you remember this, but for the inaugural flyweight title, when they done a tournament, so they brought the flyweights in and they done a tournament to do it. And essentially what they done was they had 3-round fights and then overtime if it was a draw. So they had an extra round. And in one of the fights, in one of the fights, it was Demetrius Johnson against Uncle Creepy Ian McCall. And basically, Demetrius Johnson was judged to have won the fight, and everyone was like, what the fuck, that was a close fight. I thought Ian McCall won. It turned out that they only figured out after the fact that they calculated the scores up wrong on the thing. So they put the right scores down, but they calculated it wrong, gave the wrong thing, so the extra round didn't go ahead. And the problem was Ian McCall was like, he had the momentum, he was winning the last round, he mounted Demetrius Johnson. So then they rematched and Demetrius Johnson ended up winning, so there was a big controversy. They actually calculated basic arithmetic got wrong.
I mean, that's why you have commissioners and stuff. Like Bruce Buffer looks at all these cards and stuff, doesn't he, before the That's insanity. Like,
I don't know.
Yeah, it is amazing sometimes looking at high level sport and the incompetence that can sometimes rise to the highest level of the sport. Like it's pretty amazing, really.
We have some quick fire questions. I know you liked that last week, so let's jump straight into them, Sean. Give your
I didn't
quick
do it.
answer, and then I'll give my answer next. All right, it's FIFA
Okay.
King UFC. Here's some quick fire questions for you. 1, 2, 3, go. Hurling or Gaelic football?
Hurling.
Gaelic football. Gaethje versus Alvarez, Gaethje versus Dustin, or Johnson versus Gaethje?
What was the first one?
Gaethje Alvarez.
Gaethje Alvarez.
Gaethje
No,
Dustin.
sorry, Gaethje Poirier, because Gaethje Alvarez was a no contest, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
Gaethje
no, it
Poirier.
was a finish. It was a finish. It was
Was it?
Poirier. Yeah, Poirier thing. I'm gonna go with the Gaethje Dustin. Friends or How I Met Your Mother?
Friends.
See, I liked How I Met Your Mother at the start. It ended fucking horribly. I'm gonna go with Friends because my girlfriend would kill me if I
The
said
US
otherwise.
office is the best.
Yeah. City or countryside?
City.
City. Mac or Windows?
You've never lived in the country though.
No, I haven't. I don't think I'd like it.
What was the next one?
Mac or Windows? Windows.
Windows. Yeah.
PlayStation or Xbox?
PlayStation.
Did you say you were going to buy a PlayStation?
Yeah, someone give me a bit of advice in the chat on this, right? So I'm wicked bored here at home. I do play some Football Manager on my PC, but I'm thinking about buying a console just so I can play like Fortnite and Warzone with my friends. It's double free.
Mm-hmm.
Should I
I'll play Warzone
buy?
with you.
Do you play it?
Warzone, yeah. Call of Duty, yeah.
Yeah. Should I buy a PlayStation 4 or should I just wait for the PlayStation 5?
Let Sean know. This is a very pressing question.
Yeah.
Lastly, YouTube versus Netflix. Oh, that's a tough one.
YouTube.
I'll say YouTube. I use it more, but like they're very different platforms.
Yeah.
They're both video, but different.
Send us more of these every week, FIFA King.
Yes, more.
King. I'm enjoying these. These are good.
Yeah, if you have any more in the chat, why not? Give it a go. Let's jump back into the chat and see if we have any more questions. John C., do you think DC is losing fans by constantly bringing up Stipe in interviews and tweets? I'm thinking of tweeting at Stipe about having a guy who can build Stipe an octagon and cage to train. Losing fans, DC? I don't know, but I've been wrong with DC's popularity in the past. Like I thought like DC was great, and then suddenly he walked into a fight and he was getting booed. I wasn't really sure. But I don't think so. I don't think fans really care about that. I think they want to see the fight, to be honest.
Yeah. I don't think he's losing fans personally. What I think would probably lose him some more fans is I think DC was always quite harshly treated. I mean, when people were booing him earlier on in his UFC career, I always thought he was a nice guy and really liked him. Thought he was a good talker, a really good speaker. I don't quite like the UFC kind of salesman that he's become.
Yeah.
That would annoy me a bit more, but like I mean, he works for the company, so like I still really like listening to him. He's a brilliant analyst, but
yeah, fair enough. I think that's spot on. Salva Stola in the community tab. What's the most painful submission you can use on a customer service rep in a bank call center when they can't figure out what they did with your last deposit? Most painful submission. I think we can just answer it as most painful submission. I think that works anyway.
Yeah. Calf slicer.
Oh, that is horrible. I've actually never been twisted, so I don't know, but like that looks horrendous.
Yeah. I mean, an armbar would be pretty fucking painful.
Yeah. See, yeah, there's some different ones. Like I think like something like a calf slicer or even like a bicep slicer are like really painful. That's the whole point of them. They're not like that's why people tap out. But something like heel hook isn't actually that painful, but you'll blow out their knee in 2 seconds. So do you want damage or just want to hurt them?
Yeah, let us know what you want to do to this person.
Yeah. If you want, exactly. Do you want to leave them slightly paralyzed or at least immobile for the rest of their lives? Badass heel hook might do the job.
Half slicer for me.
Yeah, it is painful. Apparently, according to Tale of the Tape, said that a PS5 is supposed to come out Christmas of this year. So I've heard. You can't wait though, can you? You're just too bored.
Yeah, that's what I looked up. But then, I mean, this whole thing could likely put that back as well because production could be affected and building it and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I think if I saw a PS4, I was looking and PS4s are around 250 to 300 euros at the minute. So I think if I got one around the 250 mark, I could probably tempted to part ways with my money.
Yeah, Warzone's actually pretty fucking fun. Not gonna lie. At first, I didn't get it because I've never really played those battle royale games, Fortnite and all that. But when you actually understand what's happening and how you play the game, it's very good.
You just have to put the time into it.
Exactly, yeah. But I don't have time, Sean. It's the problem.
Yeah.
Tom Broom Jones, we got to find a way to shoehorn Uncut Gems into the live chat every time they antagonize Sean. We do. It's fucking great.
It gets me twitchy just thinking about it. I hate it so much.
I know. It's like looking in a mirror.
You loved it as well. That annoys me a bit even more because you just knew. I knew the big artsy
Do you know what?
film head.
I loved them more because you told me I hated this film, so I went in watching it saying like, I'm gonna love this. Like, it doesn't matter if I hate it, I'm gonna love it. But I actually did really
Sean
like it.
hates it.
Yeah.
No, it's horrible. It's a shit movie. And it should have been great because it's Adam Sandler as a gambling addict. Like, I should love it.
Yeah, right down your alley, Sean.
Oh.
King of the Mod said, can we take the time to appreciate that Jason Herzog spoke out during the controversy, unlike other refs? Yeah, and I seen Big John McCarthy give him a lot of props for this. If you haven't seen it, Jason Herzog was the referee for Anthony Smith's fight against Glover Teixeira. Very late stoppage. A lot of people getting blamed for it. But the referee, including the corner, the referee came out and said, listen, I'm in charge of the fight in there. Like, if the fight should be stopped, it should be me that stops it. And I apologise for not doing it earlier. To be honest, like, as Big John McCarthy said, it was a bad stoppage because it went on for too long. But, like, there really wasn't that one moment where it could have been stopped, you know what I mean? But it should have been stopped based on the cumulative damage that was done. Yeah. But yeah, fair play.
Again, I think that's a position where the corner should step in. It shouldn't be on the ref. Not that it shouldn't be, but it's hard for a ref to stop a fight because of accumulation of damage.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But again, I didn't actually see Herzog. You sent it to me. I think fair play to Herzog for stepping out and speaking out. You don't see it from refs. You
never see it. Yeah, you never see it. And you know what the fucked up thing is that if Herzog actually stopped that fight, which it should have been stopped, what would have happened? Probably Anthony Smith, although I don't know, but Anthony Smith's corner would have gone insane, saying you shouldn't have stopped the fight. Then the commentators would have jumped on board, saying you shouldn't have stopped the fight. But now, like, that the fight, it actually didn't happen, you know, they're saying, the referee should have. So, like, they can't really win.
It's that snowball effect thing again. So.
Yeah. It's not good.
Anthony Smith, did you see this? Anthony Smith said Herzog's a coward.
What?
Speaking out. Yeah.
What?
I didn't read the full article. He came out and he called Herzog a coward. But it wasn't for stopping the fight that he called him a coward. So.
Let me see this.
It's not great for Anthony Smith.
Anthony Smith. Jason Herzog made a coward move addressing stoppage and fight with Glover Teixeira. Why? Coward move on my part. How? I make it a point before my fights to know the commands and what he expects out of each one before every fight. I did everything he asked and responded correctly per the fight meeting.
Yeah.
Don't wilt under the heat towards Twitter. I mean, the world is soft. That's a typical fighter reaction, I guess. You know, he's saying that like he done everything and the fight shouldn't have been stopped. Essentially, is what he's saying.
My issue with it was that Smith was basically, come the end of the fight, every shot that Smith took, he was just turtling up. So
yeah, he was getting beat up. Like he was moving. You know, if you want to go right to the the rule book, technically he was doing what he needs to do, but it gets to a point.
I think Tom said it pretty well in the chat there. Yeah, I feel bad for MMA refs, man. Cruz accuses Peterson of being a drunk when he stops it early, and Smith flames Herzog for letting it continue long after Smith was done. They just can't win. I think that's pretty much it. They can't win.
Yeah, and the next question by Bull Roar MMA podcast was a good one. Hardest job in MMA besides fighting? I think referees is a good show.
Yeah.
A very good show. That is a difficult job. Like we've both talked to Daniel Mulvaney, great referee in the UK, and of course done a few UFC fights, and like there's a lot that goes into that job. It's very difficult, and you're just scrutinized. No matter what you do, you're scrutinized.
Yeah, and I think the thing is as well, like just from speaking to Dan, I think they're pretty well able to explain their reasoning for everything that they do. Yeah. They just don't always get the opportunity, or they're not given the opportunity.
Or they don't want to do it. Some jobs, some refs don't want to. Yeah, fair enough. Like remember Mark Goddard explained the Colby Covington stoppage. That was he was excellent when he done that. So yeah. But also besides refereeing, judging isn't easy either. Like we have the luxury of seeing all the great angles and rewatching on replays and kind of processing it in our head. We don't have to immediately write that number down, and they're scrutinized as well. Although some of them are terrible.
We also, I think it's worth calling out, we also watch the commentary, which can kind of influence. I mean, Noel has said this to us a couple of times before. He's watched fights without commentary and scored them totally different.
Yeah. Do you know what actually I was thinking on the weekend when I was watching the fights? See the way some of the fighters are hearing what the commentators are saying. Where are the judges? Are they in the back? Are they are they watching a cage side? Because usually they'd be watching a cage side, but they wouldn't hear the commentary because there's so much noise around them. So I wonder
Good
now
point.
if they're still out there, can they hear the commentators talking? Which means they're getting influenced one way or another.
It's a good point, yeah. Because
I
Bisping
wonder.
was quite loud on the call the other evening.
Very loud. I love the Bisbing cam. They kept showing Bisbing reacting to things. And he was like, "Oh, thank God that wasn't me this time." And then it immediately went back to him. Ugh.
It's very funny.
Owen Young, nice one as always, fellas. Thanks, Owen. Appreciate it. If you haven't, go on to Twitter and retweet this, and also someone throw it up on Reddit or something. Because why not? We have not as many people on the chat this week, and that's probably our problem because we didn't really advertise it this week. But either way, moving on. Tom Brown Jones gave you a suggestion. If you're after gaming, go for a PS4. If you're after a Media Hub, Xbox. So there you go. There you go, Sean.
Yeah, I'm after the gaming probably because I have a smart TV that's pretty good here at home. So I have like Disney Plus. I have the UFC app on it as well, actually.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
What's
probably just a
what's the
game
UFC app like on your smart TV? Not great.
It's not great. Do you know what I actually noticed watching the last couple of main cards on it was that it just stops in the middle of the card and it says restart app to make more memory, which is really annoying.
Huh.
And then you go to you go back in and you have to click resume, but it only resumes at like the last essentially checkpoint or something.
Oh, right.
So then it's quite annoying, but like it's grand. It's on the telly, so like I'm not arsed fucking working on my laptop and stuff.
Yeah, mine doesn't do any of that crack, but it's not as I don't know, smooth as you'd hope. As in, like, do you see the thing? I don't know if yours has this, but you can see like all the fights and you click into them and it shows the stats and stuff. Like, how come you can't click into that and then it brings you to the fight?
That is so frustrating, man. I actually thought that's what it did, and
that's what
I
thought
did it. Yeah,
I thought
because you can do that on the web app, can't you?
I don't know, but that's why I thought that was my TV. So apparently that's just the app. Fucking shit.
No, that's the app. That's really bad. Like really bad.
Awful.
Again, Dana's nephew running fucking fight passes on.
Yeah, on the cheap. Bull Roar MMA podcast said that the Twister feel terrific, and also Warzone is my new addiction. It is quite good.
That could be quite cool then if I get a PS4 and we can play with some of the subscribers and stuff. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, and I'll never see it, or I'll never not see it. Joey Cruz, do you think some judges are betting on fights? Is it worth looking into? Eddie Bravo. Who knows?
Yeah, that's the tinfoil hat. I mean,
it's hard to say.
I don't know. I'd be look from speaking to like listening to the likes of Mark Goddard and knowing Daniel Mulcahy, I'd be very surprised if they were ever betting on fights that they were involved in. So
yes, I'd say although if you say reputable judges and things, that's kind of like how do you define that? But I'd say most of them aren't. There could be some like low level regional judges that are doing some shitty crack. But
the lower down you go, the stinkier it gets, really. So
tell the tape, Herzog would have been accused of boozing before the fight. That's hilarious.
Jon Jones says he has it on good authority that Jason Herzog stank of Slim Jims and Iron Brew.
Iron Brew, haven't had that in years.
That's Scottish, man. That's like Scottish.
I know. I've had it though. I've had it. No, it's not. It's like a soft drink.
No, I know, but they love it.
They love it. All right.
Yeah, it's like the national drink of Scotland. The same like Guinness is for you.
Yeah. Here's a question. We spoke about this last week, Sean, and we got a little bit of shit in the chat. I remember. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was giving us shit for talking about Conor, I think, too long. MAKM said Gaethje should fight Conor since Khabib won't fight till next year. Maybe the reason being his father is in critical condition, COVID-19, heart attack, bypass, coma, and then paralysed. I haven't actually seen the updates, but I know he's in a bad way.
Did you see? Sorry, did you see that Khabib said 20 or more of his family have passed away or are sick because of COVID-19? Is that
fuck, man?
Fucking rough, man.
That's insane. But yeah, he said he doesn't see Khabib fighting anytime soon because of this, in respect of his father. Man, like it could happen. Like, I don't see how anybody, especially if you're that close, because I know like in his culture they stay living with their parents for their whole life, basically, isn't it? Until their parents pass away, they stay living in the family home. Yeah. So if you're that close to your parents, and even if you're not that close, just in general, it's gonna be very hard just to go out there, and compete. So I don't see him competing anytime soon either. Like even if his dad hopefully does survive and doesn't pass away. But yeah, I mean, it's a big possibility for sure.
Yeah, I would imagine that's a fairly ever-changing situation. Dana seemed to intimate that Khabib said he'd be good to go in September, but that could change at any time with his dad. So who
Yeah.
knows?
I want to do this one first before we forget about it, Sean. There was a question here in the community tab, and keep putting your questions in the live chat, like the video, all that jazz, subscribe to the channel. But there's a question, and I like this one. Aaron Rabbit, now that the 3 events are done with, which fighters would you say are the stars of the week? So Sean, I spoke to you about this before, just to make sure we didn't say the same people, because that would have been a bit boring. So I'll let you go first. Give us your number 3, your third biggest star, or most successful fighter of the week, whatever way you want to put
it. Walt Harris.
Walt Harris, explain.
Yeah, not. I know he took a loss, obviously, but I think just the way he carried himself, given everything that he's been through the last while, I think he spoke really well after the fight. I think he carried himself really well. Really commendable how he turned up to fight. Look, I'm going to assume he needed to fight to earn, but he couldn't have been expected to fight given everything he's been through. So yeah, I think he just carried himself really well, spoke really well. So big up Walt Harris.
Yeah, that's completely fair enough. And in the live chat as well, put your picks down for the top 3, or even your biggest winner of the week. Especially if it's an under the radar one, because some of ours are going to be like the bigger stars, but there's some great fighters there. My number 3 is Calvin Kattar, because nobody really finishes Jeremy Stephens, and he did it. And I think now he's definitely one of the dark horses in the division. I'd love to see a rematch with Zabit. I'd love to see him up there against the likes of Max Holloway. I think that'd be a great fight. His boxing is on point. It seems like his grappling is there. Very, very good fighter. And again, great performance over a really good guy in Jeremy Stephens. So got to go with Calvin Kattar. What's your number 2?
Finish Stephens in style as well.
Style.
My number 2 is... Who's my number 2? Francis Ngannou. I mean, why? It's pretty obvious why. He's just put himself right. Like he hadn't actually fought in a while when you look at it. So he just put himself right back in there for that number 1 shot.
Yeah.
To maybe bypass Stipe, or to maybe bypass DC, or even get an interim title shot with DC.
Yeah, and
now he's put himself right back in there.
And now he's in the conversation to get a huge money fight against Jon Jones, and that can't be good. That can't be bad either. So yeah, I think you might have took my pick, Sean. But I'll go with your pick that you picked, because I also agree with it. It was Glover Teixeira, who, yeah, very, very good performance. Of course, the fight itself, how it ended, kind of left a bit of a bad taste in your mouth, but you can't say anything bad about Glover. Again, there was a lot of guys on these cards, like you have the Alistair Overeems, now you have the Glover Teixeiras here,
Olenek,
who like
Ben
older,
Rothwell.
Yeah, there's loads of them, like older guys who kind of just came back and keep continuing to perform at a really high level, and I think Glover showed that in that fight. Excellent performance. Who's your number 1, Sean?
Tug Nasty Bryce Mitchell is my number 1.
Nice.
Yeah, I think for a guy who I scored the fight 30-24, an absolute grappling masterclass. Just how he rolled from submission to submission attempt was phenomenal. So fun to watch. Like genuinely put a smile on my face watching it. I know that was kind of impacted by the fact it was the first bit of live sport I've had in 2 months.
Yeah.
But it was genuinely so fun to watch. He's a funny guy. I mean, like he's a massive hillbilly, big Trump supporter, big tinfoil hat merchant and stuff. Did you watch that video I sent you?
Which one?
There's a video. It's Homegrown Fighter, I think, is the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And they spent some time with Bryce Mitchell and his girlfriend. They live in a trailer, and Bryce says that he's grown his own farm because he wants to be self-sufficient, because he thinks there's another depression coming and there's going to be rationing and all this stuff.
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
But even apart from a massive tinfoil hat merchant, but he's very funny. I think he's a good character and very enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
So he's my big win up of the week.
Yeah, anybody that consistently attacks a twister, like, yeah, I'll watch them any day. Great pick. My number 1 is very obvious. It's Justin Gaethje, but one of us had to pick it. Like, clearly the biggest star that came out of the event, or out of the events, lined up for potentially a fight with Khabib, one of the biggest stars in the sport. Possibly a fight with Conor, one of the biggest stars in the sport, perhaps the biggest star. And poor performance against Tony Ferguson, who, was the guy who was destined to fight Khabib, and that fight was supposed to happen. Of course, you have to be a little bit disappointed that's not going to happen, so you can say, damn you, Justin Gaethje. But I don't look at it that way. I look at it as we just have another new contender who showed us a different level and a new dimension to his game. And I was incredibly impressed. Let's see if anybody said it. Aaron Rabbit with a super chat. That's the third super chat of this live.
Man.
I know. We're definitely going to get you to Fight Island now. Right. Definitely. But we'll answer that question because super chat, why not? And then we'll get on to the other ones. Do you think that they will add another title to the Nunes card? Which fights Felicia Spencer.
Jesus Christ.
And if so, what fight? I've heard a lot of people talk about that, and it isn't a great event. In fact, it's pretty bad. Let me try to get the UFC 250 card up. So it's that main event.
I was looking at the UFC website today.
Yeah.
They have the card listed as TBD versus TBD.
Do they?
Yeah, and they don't even have the Woodley Burns card listed on the website.
Wow, interesting.
Because as it stands,
yeah,
Tapology
no have 4. Right?
Yeah, Tapology have 4 fights on that Woodley Burns card. Dana says that's 100% happening somewhere on the 30th of May. I mean, 4 fights on the card, 11 days out. Although I suppose if they put it on in the Apex or that, you can do a small card maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, 250's looking pretty thin.
It is. It's pretty thin. Like, there's some okay fights on it, but nothing there. In terms of title fights, like what's available, I heard someone talking about Henry Cejudo getting him back with a lot of money and giving him like a super fight of sorts. But who does he fight? I don't know. Like Stipe is not fighting anytime soon. Weili Zhang, she's overseas, I assume. She's not going to fight. I'm going to say the same about Shevchenko. Man, like I don't really see anybody available, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the only way you get a champion to step in is in a similar position to when DC fought Derek Lewis.
Yeah.
Where it's a fight that a champion thinks he can win.
Yeah.
Bag a load of cash.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really know. Really. I wonder like how Usman is doing. He's the only one that kind of sticks out to me as potentially he could be in line for a defense. Just considering, he's obviously
do a bantamweight title, I suppose. Strips of it.
Yeah, that's another option. I heard maybe putting Sandhagen and Aljo in that spot.
Really? Peter Yan, no?
Yeah, but Peter Yan would be abroad, so he's not going to be able to make it over. And I think both of those guys are ready. Of course, Sandhagen was supposed to fight a few months ago. But potentially that's the only one I can think of. But even then, like that's a great fight. I love it. But like still that card.
The card's not great, is it?
No, that is not great. Joel Adorno. In your opinion, who is the most responsible in Anthony's case? His corner for not throwing in the towel himself, for not telling that he's done while in the corner, or obvious choice for everyone, the ref? I think everyone.
Corner for me.
Yeah, I think everyone takes a little bit of blame. Smith, I don't think Smith deserves blame. Like he was just fighting.
No, absolutely not.
He's never going to say he's going to quit, so no. Yeah. But I think the referee probably could have looked at him at certain moments and said, that guy's not going to win this fight. He doesn't really have a chance. Let's stop it. But I understand why he didn't. But yeah corner should have stopped it for fucking sure. So I'll give them most of the blame.
Yeah, corner for me. I think the corner have to take a lot of responsibility for not protecting the man for another day. The ref one is what you said it is. It's you can see why he let it go on. You could see why that Anthony was probably doing enough to let the fight go on, but like come on. But yeah, the corner for me. I think there should be more. Essentially, there should be more thrown in out the towel in positions like that.
Yeah, I know. Like
I mean, DC was quite. I think there's been a lot of question of Anthony's corner in general. Just that constant shouting and instructions and odd.
Yeah. I seen Tom Broom Jones said that he read today that Dagestan cannot contain COVID-19. A huge portion of Russia's cases are in the region. I just quickly Googled it and I seen it on RTE. Russian numbers improving, but concern over Dagestan. So
this was my first thought, second thought, when I seen that Khabib said he has 20 or more of his family members have it or have died with it. I was like, that's a little cluster in itself, essentially.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So obviously I know they're quite close over there, so they obviously all must live in and around each other. So one person must have got it, and then
exactly, yeah.
That was essentially one of my first thoughts when I heard that. I was like, "Fuck."
Yeah.
I mean, is there no social distancing or something over there, or what?
I don't know. Like it says, according to a recent official tally released on Monday, Dagestan has a report of 3,460 coronavirus cases and just 29 deaths. However, a local health minister said Saturday that more than 12,600 people are suffering from the coronavirus and pneumonia. Yeah, I think in some places it's not going to get better anytime soon, to be honest, and probably not even in most places, you know.
Yeah.
We had from Tom Brew Jones. He gave his picks: Gaethje, Bryce Mitchell, Walt Harris. Kind of same reasons for
Amalgamation of the
going.
three of us, of the
Yeah.
two of us. Yeah.
Bull Roar MMA podcast from the BBC. Nurmagomedov said his father remains in a very serious condition after suffering complications. He revealed more than 20 of his relatives are in intensive care, several dying. Fuck, man.
Tough, man.
Jesus.
Alcoholic. What a
Yeah,
name.
yeah. Was that the Walt one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Walt almost had him finished, and I would have stopped that fight, and then he had gassed out. Yeah, do you know, I probably couldn't have argued it if the ref had stopped it. I think Big Dan knew his man in that case, which is fair enough. But I don't think it would have been a bad stoppage if he'd stepped in.
I don't think it'd be a bad stoppage. I'm glad he didn't stop it. Not because I didn't want to see Walt win, but like clearly Overeem was still there. But yeah, like that was a big one. Like he had him hurt and he made a really bad mistake. Like Walt Harris isn't the youngest guy, but he's probably less experienced than I guess a lot of people at that age in terms of MMA. And that front kick was just a very, very poor decision. It was like the spinny shift from Weidman against Rockhold. A lot of people talk about. And it was just a very bad decision to do that, and then he got caught, and you know, Bob's your uncle, as they say. Jones versus Francis Ngannou. Jones would pick him apart. We actually haven't. I wrote, Jones versus Francis Ngannou, but we haven't actually really talked about the fight, Sean. How do you actually see that one going? Like, how would you see them matching up? Do you see Francis being too powerful, too big, and whatever, or do you look at it as in Jon Jones is clearly the more skilled guy? How would you look at it?
Yeah, I think Jon is clearly the more skilled guy. I think this is the Deontay Wilder quote from just before the second Tyson Fury fight is so applicable to this one. Jon Jones, I think, has to be perfect for 25 minutes to win that fight. Francis Ngannou only has to be perfect for a split second, and he can win that fight.
I completely agree with that. Although I will dispute or I will disagree with the 25 minutes thing. I think Jon Jones has to be perfect for probably 10 or maybe even less.
To win the rounds.
Not even win the rounds, but I think, after, especially if he gets takedowns, I think after probably 10 minutes, Francis Ngannou, like that power, not that it's gone, but I think it really diminishes. And I think with MMA, once you get a few takedowns, they start flooding in. You can get them often, and so. But I do agree with that. It's a good point. I fancy Jones.
I think. I'll tell you the early odds.
Please.
Francis is a slight favorite, so like he's 4-6, I think, or just around that.
Interesting.
It's a pretty slight favorite. Yeah. I'd have Jon Jones all day at those prices.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Did you see John Oliver touched on the UFC? Did you watch John Oliver?
Oh, I think I've heard UFC, wasn't it?
What? UFC. Yeah. He said, why did you not call it UFC as in SEA? I
don't know what he said, though. I didn't see the full.
Yeah, he just done a piece on basically sports and sports coming back, and of course with the UFC actually coming back, he spoke about that, and he said he was just talking about Fight Island. He was bringing that up as an example of a crazy case. And Dana replied saying, I like John Oliver, he's very funny, but he got the facts wrong or whatever. But
did you see Dana in one of the post-fight press conferences? I think John Morgan asked him about an article that was in the New York Times saying they hadn't followed their own protocols, which they haven't. I mean, everyone's pretty aware of it. I mean, you could see it on the broadcast that they weren't following their protocols. Dana didn't even answer the question about the New York Times article. He just went on a rant about saying, fuck this guy and fuck that guy, and classic Dana.
Ditto. Tell us the tape. Do y'all think Masvidal may fight at UFC 250? Masvidal, has he been talking about fighting? That's the thing.
I haven't seen him mentioned, actually.
No, let me Google Jorge Masvidal. This is the beauty of doing a live chat, having the internet in front of you. Haven't seen anything. I've no reason to believe he will, but who knows? I don't think so, though.
No, I'd be well. I mean, if you throw enough cash at him, he probably will, but I don't think so. Who does he
Uh,
fight?
Connor.
No.
Joking. Tom Brown Jones. He puts on the tinfoil hat and then asks this question. Does Dana deliberately put Nunes on underwhelming cards, despite her for killing all the top draws? Hard to sell pay-per-views when the undercard is less exciting. Yeah.
Do you want to read? Do you want to read the rest of that, Rob?
No, I don't. No, I do. Less exciting than Missionary. Missionary can be exciting though. No?
No.
Depends.
Grand,
It's grand, does the job. I don't think so. It seems like they have a really good relationship, Dana and Nunes. Like, he has a picture of her on his wall in his office, like. So I don't think so. I think there was a little bit of that at the start when Nunes started knocking all these draws off. But I don't think so now, personally.
Yeah, I doubt it.
I know it was a tongue-in-cheek question,
Yeah.
probably, with the conspiracy.
It's a funny
Although,
one.
who knows? It's a good one. And I like the way he finished it. Greg Hardy versus Francis. Francis kills him. He
Let's
said,
put Mr. Domestic Violence against Mr. Killer.
Why not? Why not?
I back that, to be honest.
Go for it, yeah. Let me jump into the community tab because we have some more questions in there. The fight dialogue. Does Gaethje stand a chance against Khabib on the ground? IMO, no. How do you see it?
Sorry, I was reading the chat there. Does Gaethje stand a chance against Khabib on the ground?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Conor's takedown defense was okay against Khabib. I don't doubt that Gaethje can
stop some
takedowns.
Yeah.
But the thing with Khabib is the persistence, and he's going to get you down eventually.
Yeah.
And it's just he's going to wear you down. So I don't doubt that Gaethje can stop some of the takedowns, but no, I don't think he can hang with Khabib on the ground.
Yeah. No, I don't
for any
think
length
so
of time anyway.
No, I think he gets smashed on the ground like everybody else. Like, Khabib's top pressure is just on another level, on a completely other level. I think he gets smashed there. But as you said, do I think he can stop some takedowns? Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
But that's generally not the problem with Khabib because, as you said, he gets one eventually. And once he gets one, that's enough. You know, he stays on top for the rest of the round and potentially finishes. Jonathan Gandhi, following on your MMA podcast recommendation last week, what do you guys think of the Fight Disciples? While their knowledge of the sport and analysis is generally okay, nowhere near the best, their blatant bias towards their mates or anyone going to generate views for them as presenters on BT Sport makes it hard to listen to me at times. Don't want to slate the guys, but I've never really watched them, so I can't really comment on that accusation. I'm trying to think of who the main guy is. I feel like he works for BT, so yeah. Don't know. Have you ever watched the Fight Disciples?
No.
Listened?
If I was to recommend the worst UFC podcast of all time, or the worst podcast of all time, MMA, it would be the UFC Unfiltered one, which is just some UFC propaganda, if that's what you're into.
Not like it now. Is that Matt Serra's podcast?
Matt Serra and Jim Norton, I think.
Yeah. I like Matt Serra, but yeah, it's a UFC podcast. What do you expect? What else do we have here?
Jon Jones said something in the chat there.
The bookies one?
Yeah, there's a bookie offering odds on Francis beating Bones and DC in 2020 in favour of Francis. I want to meet the crackhead that takes that bet. Yeah, I mean, Francis beating the two of them in a year would be a fucking hell of a run.
That would be unbelievable.
Yeah, fair play to anyone laying that bet. No, not for me.
He said he might stick a tenner on Spencer for the laugh.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get a price on Amanda Nunes, so.
Exactly. Why not? Like, it's only a tenner, isn't it?
Yeah.
Only a tenner.
Spend a tenner on worse things.
Yeah, I'm sure you have, Sean. Tell the tape, what do you all think of Felicia Spencer's chances against Nunes? Speaking of that fight, it's only a tenner, do it, but I don't give her very much chance of beating Amanda Nunes. Like, do you know what? Her best performance was against Cyborg, and she lost that fight. And I think, like, the UFC are actually promoting that. Like, they're showing highlights of her fight against Cyborg, but when you actually know that she lost that fight, it's not as impressive. She's a good fighter.
I mean,
she's good.
That's where they're at with contenders for Amanda now, isn't it?
Yeah, she's a good fighter, but man,
I'm just gonna get the odds up right now so I can have a look. Yeah, I mean, she's over 4-1, just over 4-1.
Yeah, I wonder, have the predictions gone in on Tapology yet? Because that would be funny. 12% are picking. I'm actually.
This is what I've heard about it though. So that it's phenomenal TV, but very slow moving. But when it picks up, it's amazing. But yeah, I just haven't committed to it yet.
Yeah, I'm. I really like Jason Bateman as a. Do you know what's weird? He'd probably be a bigger underdog against Francis than he would be against Stipe, even though Stipe is the champion, just because Francis has that bomb in his hand. Yeah. So yeah, I think, I don't know, like probably, I don't know, not as much as Spencer now, but like
I think you're probably looking
2.5, 3 to 1
there. Yeah, I think you're probably. I don't even know. I think you're probably looking around the 2-1 mark. I'd say
for both. A little bit shorter for.
Against Francis, I think you're probably looking at around 2-1 on Overeem personally. Just because Overeem can bang as well.
Yeah.
I mean, if he catches Francis. Against Stipe, yeah, I'd actually probably have him a bit longer against Stipe.
Yeah, fair enough.
Just because of the Stipe's technical ability.
And then would he match up more evenly against DC? I think that's a worse matchup for him, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that the style just doesn't make sense. Although Overeem is very good on the ground, very underrated. Hey Sean and Rob, this is from Kashi Helmet. Talks of DC's Stipe rubber match are beginning to intensify. DC's eye pokes played a role in the first 2 fights of the trilogy. Eye pokes seem to be a problem that can't be mitigated, or that can be mitigated. 2 solutions that could potentially help the eye poking problem: 1, automatic point deduction, and 2, glove redesign. What are your thoughts on these solutions and the eye pokes in general? What do you think, Sean?
They're pretty simple solutions, is the problem. I mean,
Yeah.
the Bellator have the rounded gloves, don't they?
They do, yeah.
Like that's
spoke with Jimmy Smith about that.
That's a simple fix, I think.
Yeah.
The points one is annoying. I think we see this pretty regular with referees. Where how many warnings before you take a point to it?
Yeah.
Like regularly you see warnings for fence grabbing and holding on to shorts, and they get 4 or 5 warnings before the ref even warns that next time it's a point gone. I think that would tighten it up if see, it's hard when the gloves aren't rounded because the natural your finger naturally goes out like that when you paw out at someone.
Yeah.
So it's hard. I think the rounded glove just solves the whole thing. That's a pretty simple fix, is that?
Yeah. Yeah, both seem that they would help. I don't know if they're going to fix it. Like, there is still eye pokes in Bellator. It's just not as common because, as you said, the whole glove thing. The points thing, I think, is a good idea because I remember going to a Bellator show, I believe it was. Yeah, it was. No, it was actually Bama, funny enough. I think it was Bama. And Daniel Perez was fighting Ryan Curtis. He's a local fighter from over here. And Perez, I think that was the fight. Or it could have actually been a different one. It was a Perez fight anyway. And he kept pawing out the glove, pawing out his fingers. And I think Daniel Movaheady was actually the referee. And he ended up taking a point, not even for eye poking, but for consistently putting out his fingers. And after a few warnings, and he got a point deducted. And he stopped doing it immediately after.
Yeah.
Anecdotal, but,
yeah,
worked. John C. Whoa, Sean thinks UFC Unfiltered is worse than Below the Belt with Brendan Sharp.
That's fair, actually. They're both absolute trash podcasts. Like,
you're a big Below the Belt fan, no?
I like some Below the Belt stuff, but not the podcast. The show is awful, man. I don't know why I watched that. I've even kind of stopped watching a lot of Rogan now.
Have you?
It's not that I just dislike Rogan. I just only when he has certain guests on now that I watch him.
Fair enough, yeah.
But I seen Eddie Bravo was on talking about the Ferguson fight, and fucking Shaw was on there as well. Absolutely licking Eddie Bravo's arsehole, man, blowing smoke up his ass. It was so bad. It was the exact same as that clip again, where Rogan says, "Oh, it's the worst," and Shaw was like, "No, it's the worst.
It's the worst."
Yeah, and every time Bravo made a really good point about see the way he was put into the cage in between rounds to give advice. He was like, "Man, I'm getting slagged or slated over this," and he says, "I don't want to be an MMA coach. I'm a jiu-jitsu coach. That's what I am. I've never claimed to be anything else, and I don't want to be anything else." I got trust. He basically admitted he got trust in there, and he panicked and he gave some bad advice. He was pretty open about it. It is a good listen to the Bravo. But when Bravo would sort of self-deprecate upon himself, Shaw would sort of be straight in there. "No, you're great, man. No, you're amazing, man. Shut up, Shaw."
I love listening to you complain about, not even complain, but rant about Brendan Schaub. It's funny.
Stuff.
I'd love to put you in the round just to have a little chat.
He'd fuck me up as well.
Yeah. Well, that'd be assault, though. I mean,
Yeah, but what use is the money I get out of suing him if I'm a fucking vegetable?
a veg. If you're a veg.
Yeah.
Did you see that the UFC put up Nate Diaz versus Conor 1 as a free fight?
In that.
Oh, is that interesting? I wonder what's happening there. That's all I'll say. Tom Brown Jones, you know, division is thin when the number one contender is having a loss used as their high package. Absolutely. It's bad, isn't it? When you, like, you said it more eloquently than I did, Tom. Well done.
Yeah.
Francis is the closest thing to MMA had to Mike Tyson. KO artists always get good odds from bookies. That is true. Like, I'll say it's hard to put to set a line for a guy like Francis Ngannou because Jesus, like, where's the money gotta go?
In my opinion, Francis shouldn't be a favourite over Jon Jones, but I know why he is. Because you can't price him what he should be.
Yeah.
Against Jon Jones because it will just get gobbled up.
Yeah, sorry, I saw a comment. Tom Brown Jones. DC saw Bisbing pop his eye out on a podcast and thought, I found my next goal. Tail of the tape. Do y'all think Michael Chandler will re-sign with Bellator, go to the UFC, or retire after his rematch with Bendo? Good question. MMA on Point Lads had Michael Chandler on for an interview. It was actually like a face-to-face interview. I think they live in the same kind of location. Check that out. That was quite good. But I'd love to see Michael Chandler get a shot in the UFC. Like, not get a shot, because I think he would. If he wants to go there, I think he'll get a contract. It's just whether the contract is good enough for his expectations. But I'd love to see him compete with some of the best guys in the UFC. I think he has the ability to do quite well. Champion, I'm not quite sure, but do quite well. So I'm going to say he's going to go to the UFC just to round off his career. Tom Broom Jones, any hype for Mighty Mouse's upcoming one flyweight title bout? I'm going to say no, because I don't even know when it is.
I didn't even know he had an upcoming title bout.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know when the fuck it is. When is it?
Is it on Tapology?
I'm going to check it now. He could be trolling us. He had a cancelled bout against Adriano Moraes. I don't know. Maybe it's just in general. I'll be up for it. I've watched all his fights, but I don't think there's a huge demand for it, to be honest.
It's not. I can't even see it on Tapology there, so I don't know. I mean, if it goes ahead, then I'm hyped as fuck. But
yeah, apparently Chandler has a good offer from One Championship. People say One FC, but it's not One FC anymore, Sean. It's One Championship.
One championship, one belt.
The more you
know. One face, one name. Deontay Wilder, anyone?
Yeah.
That same guy, Pablo 005, said Francis is closer to Wilder than Tyson. I personally agree with that one.
Yeah, I agree with that one. Tyson was actually quite technical.
Tyson was a very technical and technically efficient boxer. Yeah. I think he was very good.
He was never wild. Ever, really.
He just had the power of a wild man.
Yeah. Love that.
I think Francis is boxing's Deontay Wilder.
I agree, like all over the shop. In all the best ways, like motherfucker.
In a way that makes him absolutely amazing and fascinating to watch.
Yeah, but still.
But in a way that means he makes him very beatable.
And that's kind of half the reason why it's so amazing. Well, maybe not half the reason, but like partially the reason that he's just open for shots.
Yeah.
Royal Blood, UFC is preparing Masvidal versus Conor. They're covering it through fake narratives to have the fight on the headliner. Who knows? It'd be hilarious. One thing, Sean, before we leave, everybody, get your questions in really quickly, because we're going to go for another 10 minutes or so and then leg it. But the last couple of episodes of The Last Dance happened or were aired last night. I watched them, and I know you watched them. Brief thoughts on the finale.
Absolutely phenomenal. I knew a bit of Michael. I was about to say Mike Jones for some reason.
Mike Jordan.
Yeah, my head's all over the place. Yeah, absolutely phenomenal. Hands down, the best sports documentary I've ever watched, and probably the best documentary I've ever watched. I think it was put together so well. I absolutely love how they did it. The footage and interviews with Michael Jordan were phenomenal. I think my favorite bit of the whole series was when showed Jordan a clip of Gary Payton talking about how he had a couple of good games on Jordan, and Jordan just laughs at him. I fucking loved it. Absolutely loved it. He just laughed at me. He's like,
Yeah.
man, like, you could tell he was just like, he thinks he'd a couple of big games on me.
Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious. Episode 7 and 8 were absolutely brilliant with the whole Father's Day stuff. It was actually quite emotional. The
It
whole
was
thing
very
was
emotional.
absolutely brilliant. Couldn't recommend it highly enough.
Yeah, I loved it. I agree. It's probably one of the better, probably the best sports documentary I've seen. Especially for like a series that was an hour, 10 parts, like, and still feel like, man, they could have, went for a couple more episodes. It's very rare. Like, there's so many documentaries I've watched, like, man, they fucking dragged that shit out. Like, that could have ended ages
That was
ago.
a 10-hour doc.
10-hour doc, and it was compelling all the way through. And I know nothing about basketball. Like, I obviously know fucking Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, but aside from that, like, LeBron, here we go. So I was fascinated by it. I think he came off very well, maybe partially because he did have the last say on everything, but even then, like, I know a lot of Americans are saying that he was too, I don't know, cold and competitive, but like, I love that shit. Like, I think that is amazing. Like, I love that he put so much pressure on his own teammates to be great. And like, even I was watching it with my girlfriend, and even when, what's the white guy's name?
Steve Kerr,
when he hit that
he
shot.
seems like a bloke. I really like him.
He seems like such a lad. Even when he hit that shot, like, or the few shots he hit, but the main one that they kind of highlighted, I was like, fucking right. Get in there, Steve.
Yeah. And even Jordan said it after that. He was like, this one was Steve Kerr, man. He earned his stripes or his whatever tonight. Because they had that sort of fight beforehand where Jordan hit Steve Kerr. But Steve Kerr even said it. He was like, I earned Jordan's respect and I stood up to him. Like, I think his will to win is phenomenal, and just how much of a competitive bastard he was. I genuinely think he came across really well. He said it himself. Winning comes at a cost. But I don't think he came across as an arsehole. Or just came across as a winner.
No.
Me.
Phenomenal.
I'm gonna binge watch it all again sometime.
Yeah, whoever that director was, do something else. Go do another sports doc. Is there any like MMA fighter or it's kind of hard to think, but like, is there any MMA fighter you can think of that like you'd love to see like an in-depth doc like that? It can't be that in-depth because Michael Jordan's just such a fucking legend, and the whole
Jon Jones maybe.
Maybe Jon Jones. I'm trying to think of like who could, but nobody really jumps out. You could do a lot of stuff in the early days, I guess, but
see, there's a lot of guys with good stories who would be interesting to follow, but the thing with Jordan is he's such a global superstar. And he's got that big that access is absolutely unparalleled.
Exactly, yeah.
Because Jordan has so much control now over what actually is put out about him. That to get that kind of access is just insane.
That's a good point. Like, I think a lot of other people, like, I guess like the closest, and this is not to say that Conor McGregor is the Michael Jordan of MMA, but like, I guess he's one of the only guys in MMA that would have a similar feel because his access isn't that far reaching. Like, not everybody can get access to him, so it's similar in that sense. But everybody else, like, they're fairly accessible. We kind of know what their lives are. So
and that's what we love about MMA as well, is that the fighters are so accessible. They're just normal blokes.
Do you know what I find weird about it though? And I don't know if anyone in the chat anyone in the chat had any insight in this, but they were obviously recorded this at the time, like during the whole season, but like, was all this footage just kept? Like,
so this footage was, I think I said this to you before, but they agreed to film it, but both parties, ESPN and Jordan, had said they wouldn't use it without each other's consent. And someone in ESPN, I was reading an article, it was on The Athletic. Someone in ESPN knew about the footage and went to Jordan a couple of years ago and his agent and said, "Could we do something with this? And we'll produce it, we'll make the whole thing, but we won't put it out unless you're okay with it." They put it together, they done all the interviews. It was due to go out actually later this year, and they bumped it forward because of the pandemic. But yeah, the footage is just lying idle.
That's crazy.
20 odd years. Like, insanity.
If I knew that was there, like, and I was some kind of executive in ESPN, I'd be like chomping at the bit like years ago to get that out,
Yeah.
Crazy. But loved it.
Phenomenal piece of television.
If you haven't watched it, lads, in the chat, go watch it. Unbelievable.
I recommended it to a few people, a few friends at work, and just friends in general who aren't sports fans at all, and they're absolutely loving it. Because they don't know how it ends as well. See, I had read Phil Jackson's book, and I knew about the Bulls story at the time, so I knew how it ended, but I didn't know that sort of in-depth stuff. But just absolutely loved it.
Yeah. We'll go for another 5 minutes or so. If you want to get your questions in, get them in really quickly, especially if they're quick fire. we can get through them because we got to run. I got dinner and stuff to go. Another funny comment. Tom Brown Jones, VIP of our MVP. I suppose that works better considering what we were just talking about. MVP of the chat today, maybe. His comments have been, or the super chat. That was always appreciated. But I'm telling you, you got to tell Michael Jordan that COVID-19 said it could beat him on the court. Lockdown would be over in a week. It's true.
Yeah, I loved the bit where MJ was like, they kept pissing him off, and like I know he would invent some stuff in his head, but people kept talking to him and pissing him off. Why are you doing it? Like, you're just giving him a reason.
I know.
It's stupid, like.
Yeah.
I loved. Sorry, go on.
No, it was just so funny that it got to the point where like you knew it was coming because you're like, and then this guy said something to Jordan. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
It's like, shit, this guy is going down.
Like when Karl Malone got MVP in that final season, and even the Jonas were just like, oh.
Yeah, it's like seeding. I love that. Like, I love that. Yeah. Like, so competitive. I love it.
Yeah. I'd say those practices with that dreamed Olympic team were insane.
Oh, man.
Like Magic Johnson, when I loved listening to Magic talk about how he was the only guy that day. He was the only guy that made me ever feel inferior on a basketball court. I thought that was a phenomenal piece of television.
Yeah. Great baseball player too.
Yeah, like it's phenomenal. I think he probably could have turned his hand to a lot of sports.
Genius, like absolute genius. Let's stop dick riding them, as they say. Joey Cruz, what's the best fight bet you've ever made? Probably the one on the weekend, Sean, because you got away with
it. It wasn't the best one I ever made. It was the luckiest one, I'd say.
Yeah.
But, best one I ever made, I don't know. I had a pretty good one. Oh, actually, do you know what it was? I had Connor to win by decision against Nate in the second fight.
Oh,
from a long way out. I had it at 13-2.
Very good.
Just because listening to Connor and looking at what he was doing in his camp, I think he kind of wanted to prove a point that he could go 5 rounds at welterweight and back that one from a long way out. So probably that one.
I'll tell you what I had. Let me just get because I want to see, because the odds are usually on Tapology, but from what I remember, it was fairly decent odds. It was TJ Dillashaw over Henan Barrow in their first fight. Nice. Let me just try to find what it is, because it was actually a double.
Does Tapology have historical odds?
They kind of do. Like if you go into their if you go into them and then scroll down to the bottom, they kind of have the odds, but I don't know how accurate they are.
Okay.
So
because historically,
Henan Barrow, plus 650, Sean.
Dillashaw was.
Yeah, against Henan Barrow in the first fight. Yeah. So I had him at plus 650, a double on him, and let me see who it was.
Double? Rob?
Yeah.
Never told me this before.
Yeah. There. Cormier, which he was probably a favourite.
Who was he fighting?
Dan Henderson, so I'd imagine he was a favourite.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah. Don't know what that paid out, but I had that. John C. Connor tweeted that his next fight is going to be for a title. I'm thinking it will be the BMF title. If he isn't in line for any other title, although that hasn't stopped Dana before. Probably. Or interim title against KG.
Yeah. I think he'll stick a title on his next fight.
Yeah. Tom Brown Jones said Linus isn't here, so someone had to step up and take the crown. Very good.
Linus and Tom can fight it out in the next shot.
Yeah. We'll have a scrap. We'll be here again next Tuesday, isn't it, Sean? As always, next Tuesday.
Yes.
And I won't say the other video will come before that, because who the fuck knows?
Gonna happen.
Yeah, it will happen.
It's starting to sound like Dana White and Fight Island.
I know, yeah. Or Dana White talking about Jones and fucking Ngannou. He seems to be like, they might fight. Who cares?
Yeah.
Grumpy old man.
But I remember Dana talking about a Conor fight. I can't remember which one. But he was doing like the release, that summer press conference to do where they get all the big fights at the events and stuff. He was doing that press conference, and someone asked him, and he was like, "No, it's not done. We're not even looking at that fight." And then the next day he announced it. So
cool. Anyway, I think that's really it. There's probably some other questions there that we missed, so I do apologise for that. But we've gone over a little bit over time, so we'll leave it there. Sean, always a pleasure. Good catching up. Haven't talked to you in a few days, so we'll see you next Tuesday. And do you have anything to leave us with? Any Brendan Schaub comments or anything like that?
No, stay safe, folks. See you all next Tuesday.
Great stuff. Cheers, Sean.